Morning, Courtney. What are you waiting for? Good morning, guys. A lot has changed up here at our homestead over the last year. Some things have gotten a lot easier, but some things have actually gotten a little bit harder. One of the most asked questions that we get is, how do we power everything? So today we're going to try to answer that question and show you exactly how all of the power around here works.
We're a husband and wife team who set out a year ago to build our dream property in North Idaho. With no prior building experience, we spent the summer building our 30 by 40 Barndominium. We raced the clock to winter and got dried in just in time, but it turns out building in winter is a bit harder, and we are so relieved to have our upstairs apartment done. We've got big plans for the property this spring, so make sure to follow along.
Before we start this video, I should probably turn the generator off so you can hear what we say. That's better.
I know that especially for me, the thought of living off-grid was a bit intimidating. I didn't want to give up the residential feel and amenities that our tiny house back in California had. And so with that in mind, we've kind of gone through 3 phases of living off-grid and power systems that have gotten us to this point, and we are going to walk you through those today. Phase 1 started with our truck camper. Before we even knew that we were going to be living up here off-grid, we knew that we wanted a truck camper that was fully sufficient off-grid. So we have 300 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate batteries, a 3,000 watt inverter, and 300 watts of solar panels. That meant that our truck camper was very self-sufficient, and when we first got up here, it was actually really good at powering everything. However, there was a downside to our truck camper powering our property, and that was that if we took the truck camper anywhere, we didn't have power. It also meant that we had to be able to get the truck camper to our building site, which took a while. Another downside to using our truck camper as our power system on the property is we were living in it at the time, and it was summer and it was hot. So that meant that to get solar to recharge our batteries, we had to be parked out in the sun. But we were living in the camper, and so the last thing we wanted to do in the middle of summer was leave this thing parked out in the sun. So we found that we were supplementing power, and that kind of brings us into phase 2 of our off-grid power system.
Phase 2 of our off-grid power included this Honda 2200 generator. This generator allowed us to power all of our power tools while we were building over the summer and recharge the camper batteries if they were getting low from running the air conditioning. It was really nice having portable power that we could carry around the job site to run things like our chop saw or charge our cordless tool batteries. But it did mean that we had to listen to a generator. It also means that every time we wanted power, we had to set it up and start it. It also has one other major downside, which is that it only has a 2200 watt maximum output, and it's not enough to run our air compressor. So every time we wanted to run the air compressor, we'd have to haul it up the hill to the camper and plug it into the camper's inverter.
As we got our building dried in and winter hit, we no longer could leave the generator outside to run, and then we took delivery of the shed, so we moved the generator out into the shed. There was a downside to that. That meant that in the middle of winter, when we needed to run the generator, one of us would have to come outside, turn it on, go back inside. Then when it was time to turn the generator off, we would have to come back outside to turn it off. So there was a lot of going back and forth, sometimes in the middle of the night, to keep everything charged. That was about the time that we took delivery of our refrigerator and our other appliances, and our power needs went up. We also wanted to be able to take the camper on trips or go out of town and still have power on the property for things like our refrigerator, our security cameras, and so we needed a solution that was more permanent for the property.
Then it was time for phase 3 of our power system. And that's when we added the EcoFlow Delta Pro to our off-grid power system. The Delta Pro has a 3,600 watt inverter, a 3,600 watt hour battery, and can accept up to 1,600 watts of solar, making this power system humongously powerful for being a portable power solution. And to me, one of the biggest benefits of this system is that it was completely plug and play. From the moment we took it out of the box, it was ready to go to power our home. Across the front here, there's a bunch of USBs, then there's 4 20 amp outlets and a 30 amp outlet. The 30 amp outlet would be really cool because it's capable of powering an entire RV. On the side here, there are also 12 volt outlets, and it's even got a 30 amp 12 volt Anderson connector that would allow it to power like an entire 12 volt system on an RV and replace the RV's battery entirely. But for now, we're pretty much just using the AC outlets because our entire home is wired with AC power. Another time that this Delta Pro really impressed me was when we used it to power our new Miller welder when we were building our bathroom vanity. It was awesome. It worked perfectly. So we've actually been running this Delta Pro now with the AC outlets on 24 hours a day for 4 months? And we haven't had a single issue. Every time we turn on the lights turn on. All of our appliances, they just work. I've been really impressed with that part of this. I kind of expected there to be some bugs that we had to work through, but there's been no problems. There are 2 ports on the back that allow us to add 2 more battery packs to this thing to expand it to, I don't know, what is 3.6 times 3? To triple its capacity, but there's another cool feature that I'm going to show you next. This is the EcoFlow Smart Generator, and it arrived a few weeks ago. Courtney and I have been using it almost daily ever since, and it's been really cool. This Smart Generator is actually one of the things that sold me on the EcoFlow system because it's got some cool features that have been working really well for us. The Smart Generator plugs into the Delta Pro through one of the extra battery ports on the back, and it actually charges the Delta Pro through DC. So there's no conversion loss like a normal generator where you go from DC to AC and then AC back to DC again. This is just a direct DC-DC connection to the Delta Pro. So for us, that means that it uses the gasoline more efficiently to generate power, and we don't have to haul as much gas up here. On the front, it's got a digital gas gauge that lets you quickly see how much gas is in it. When it's running, it'll give you an approximate runtime at that output. And you don't have to use this with the Delta Pro. On the front, it's also got a regular AC outlet, allowing us to use it like a regular generator. So even though our Honda generator was a 2200 watt generator, by the time we'd had all the conversion losses, we could only charge our Delta Pro at about 1500 watts maximum. The EcoFlow Smart Generator is able to charge our Delta Pro at 1650 watts. So even though it's a smaller output generator, it's able to charge our Delta Pro more quickly than the Honda can. There are numerous ways to start this generator. It has a traditional pull start on the side if all else fails, but it's also got this button right here that I can press. Both the Smart Generator and the Delta Pro are connected to the Wi-Fi network here, and there's an app that actually all works. So from anywhere in the world, I'm able to log in to the app and check the charge state of the Delta Pro, and I can even start and stop the generator.
I was trying so hard to hold that sneeze in and it didn't work.
If you're interested in learning more about EcoFlow products, make sure to head to the link below. And the first 10 customers to use the discount code ASGEN100 will get $100 off a smart generator.
I had mentioned one of the things that was really inconvenient about our Honda generator was having to come out here to turn it on. And so that's where the smart functions of the EcoFlow system have been so cool. Within the app, we're actually able to set parameters for when we want the generator to automatically turn itself on and off. That means we don't have to monitor anything anymore. The automation of the system has created a much more residential feel for us, and there's so much less maintenance, and I think that has really improved my quality of life. I don't feel like I'm living on the brink of running out of power. Now I feel like we have this infrastructure that supports itself.
And so for me, it just means I spend a lot less time keeping track of everything. So for now, our entire property and everything we do here is powered exclusively off the Delta Pro and the Smart Generator.
We just made a big addition this week to the system because spring is here, and that means that the sun is out for the first time since like fall. So we initially installed these solar panels on the side of this building because it was a convenient spot. It's relatively south facing and we thought it would work pretty well. But it's only 2 o'clock in the afternoon and they're already fully in the shade. So I built this quick and dirty little structure. I'm gonna move the panels over, get them at a more optimized angle and see what happens. Got the solar panels all hooked up again and it's time to go see what that did to the efficiency of them. Almost 280 watts coming into these panels and the sun isn't even shining directly on them. It's late in the afternoon, the sun is starting to go down and the sun angle is pretty extreme right now. I'm excited to see what these look like midday tomorrow morning, but for now I can say that was a huge win because 280 watts is more than double what I've ever seen come out of these panels before. So these are actually bifacial solar panels, which means they have cells on the front and the back, and by spacing them away from the building, we're allowing the light that passes through them and around them that bounces off the ground to come back to the back side of the panel and get recaptured again. So they're way more efficient in an installation like this. I also think it's really cool that these flexible panels can be folded up and put away when we're no longer using them. So I think that eventually we will be investing in a much larger off-grid power system to support the shop and all of the power it needs there. But until then, the EcoFlow system has been working really well for us. So I hope that gives you guys a little more insight on how we've been powering things around here. If you guys want to follow along on building our building, clearing our land, and everything that got us to this point, I'm going to go ahead and drop some playlists down here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.